So what's the normal trajectory of getting a assistant professor job? I want to talk about that right from the beginning and then move on towards actually thinking about assistant professors. So the key thing to remember throughout the journey is a journey about who you are. And it's a journey about discovery of what you are actually interested in. And so with that, always have to remember it is going to be a very frustrating journey. And so the trajectory that everybody says is that you work on your PhD, you're sort of post comprehensive exams, which is almost all like coursework. And then after that, you have to go do research. Then after that, some people, including myself, do a postdoc, and that is not uncommon. And then after, you might have a visiting professor position if you'd like, or you just go straight into an assistant professor position. And it all really depends, it's very field specific in terms of how you do this. And the journey of it is almost very unique for everybody. That's one of the key things that you have to remember. When you get in, there is going to be all this advice. And everybody's going to tell you this is the way that you're supposed to do it. And frankly, I think all of that stuff is just a bunch of baloney. What you need to do is just follow your heart. That's the key thing through it. And so learn to listen to what you are gravitating towards and really think about that. So you have to balance two things that are going on. First of all, what is going on in your heart? But then really listen to what other people are saying and what the audience is saying. And trying to connect those two is critically important. When you are working on before your comprehensive exams or your cores or whatever you call it, qualifying exams, what you want to do is use all of that coursework to explore and to think. And so for me, I had a specific thing that I want to study. I want to study international business for young, growing entrepreneurial firms. But, for other people, but the thing is, I lost that. I realized that the thing that I was interested in was much more bigger, and that is like learning and decision making and dealing with uncertainty. And so you might go through the exact same thing as you're going through this. You might come in with something that you're wanting to study. Most people come in, they don't really kind of know what they are interested in, and then they really work at this. And so use this as a moment of getting used to, the key thing is getting used to all of the uncertainty and ambiguity that you're going to feel. It's going to feel like you don't know what you're talking about. It's going to feel like there's going to be moments when you read things. It's going to feel like you really understand what you should know. But then there's going to be moments where it's going to fade. And most of the time, the entire career is not knowing and being insecure and really just struggling inside. It's a deep struggle of trying to figure out who you actually are. Then when you're done your comprehensive exams, you pass them. By the way, many people don't. It's very hard, right? Like it's a journey. I'm saying like all of this is journey. And if you have to go do something else or you find out like within the first month that this is not for you, please leave. That's something that I've been deeply stressing and thinking about is like, you got to follow your heart, right? Like if it's not your thing, think about that deeply. Then after your comprehensive exams, it gets much harder because you struggle with what am I actually doing and what am I about, and I don't understand what I'm interested in. And it's even more of a struggle, and you have to figure out like what is your identity. You don't know, right? By the way, even very senior folks like myself, we don't know what our identity is, so don't get all caught up in it. Think about like, what is it that I want to spend researching and thinking about for the next 10 years? Because it's going to take you that long, right? And during this process, you might attend a couple of conferences. You have to actually get research ready to attend conferences. You have to put in the work. Maybe you'll be put on to different projects. In my experience, that wasn't really the case. I actually had to develop my own thoughts. And you might go through the same thing, right? It just depends on the philosophy of the people that you're working with and how you stand. I think developing your own thoughts is actually the better way, and developing your own identity is the better way, but it's brutally hard. There is a lot more struggle, there's a lot more uncertainty than if you just get thrown onto something and somebody sort of helps you out. It's much easier to do that way. So I have been always the person that's like the struggle, and that's part of my identity, is forming this. As you could see, I'm building this reciprocity project up. By the way, it's a platform to help create non-rejectable research papers and grants. So anything that you would like, go on to it. Make sure you let me know. So the idea is it's just struggling the whole way, right? And if things are coming easy to you, you're very fortunate. I think many people, they don't have that experience. And so you're normal if you don't have that experience. So it's very likely you're going to go on the job market. At least for me, I couldn't find a job that was suitable. I couldn't find something. I went on the job market first and I put out like 70 applications. I got like one interview, I think, if that. Like, people did not care. The same is going to go for you. And then so I had to wait another year. I had to actually, and I remember it was a real gut-wrenching experience. I remember crying, like really crying about dealing with this. And you're going to go through these moments, right? If you're lucky to get a job, if everything's worked out for you and you've got a job, that's fantastic, and just be really happy. But many people just, that wasn't my experience. It's probably not going to be your experience, maybe if it is. And so you might look for something like a postdoc or filling in the gaps. I just tried to find stuff for the best I can. It was 2008, the financial crisis, the year I was supposed to graduate. So I thought I was going to graduate in 2009. So I didn't, and the job market dried up. And so I had to figure out what to do. How do I deal with this? I wanted to do like a bigger postdoc and go someplace, but there just was no opportunities, right? So you just have to figure this out. And so a postdoc is like figuring out it's really, there's a lot of generosity at that moment, and having connections. That is an incredibly important part. And that was very stressful and dark time for me because I had two little kids. And I eventually, I set this target. I was like, I'm going to quit this damn thing if it doesn't work out and I don't get a job by December. I think it was December 2011. And like at like Christmas time, I was like, I'm done. I'm out. And then I got a job offer after that, and now I'm at this institution that is wonderful and has treated me really well. Now, that experience is very, very normal, and so you're going to go through this, finding your identity and trying to do work at the same time. You have a lot of life that's going to happen. And you're going to apply for assistant professor positions, and you might get one if you're fortunate, and many people do. You will get one. It's just a competitive job market. That's ultimately, there's lots of people vying for the same thing. That's the key thing. I think, looking back, I probably would not have done this career if I would have understand that mobility in the competitive job market. I just wouldn't, because I had a lucrative career before this that I liked, and I was in search and discovery. I was doing R&D, but then I decided I wanted to go and become a professor. Like that was a mistake on my part. I would have went back. I should have stayed in industry. But at the same time, once you're into it and you're doing things and you're thinking about things, it is exciting and it's enticing. So when you get your first assistant professor job, that's the first thing that you get out. What you do is you just do the same thing, except for you have some more demands on you. You might have to teach a couple of courses. So it's normal to teach 2 or 3 courses in the first couple of years. But then after about year 3, they start ramping things up. So I had to teach 4 courses. That's pretty normal. I think a lot of other places, they might have better, there's heterogeneity. There's a tremendous amount. What's heterogeneity is variance between institutions in terms of what they offer. The 4 course load that I had to teach was really normal. That's pretty standard across most universities, but many of the very high-end universities that you probably have heard about, they might have you teach only a couple of courses for the entire 5, 6, 7 years of becoming an assistant professor. And then you're going to go up for associate professor, and then you become that associate professor at that moment. That's when you get tenure. But even getting tenure is a brutal process, and a lot of people don't get it. So this whole thing, the whole thing is a struggle. And I want you to really, really emphasize that and think about it. Just believe that it's going to be a struggle. It's going to be, it's gut wrenching in a lot of ways. And you're trying to figure out an audience that does not care. They're very indifferent and very skeptical. And it's often very competitive and ruthless. But you have to figure out your identity in that and feel okay with yourself as you're doing this, right? So really coming back and grounding yourself and finding every little thing that you can do to find your identity and ground yourself is incredibly important. So by the way, again, go on to the Reciprocity platform. I could really use your help. I'm trying to build out this platform to create non-rejectable research papers and grants. If you want to participate, go on to it. If you want to join my team, I'm here. But, what I want you to do is to find this identity that you have in terms of how you struggle with it. And we all struggle with it. The whole thing is a miserable process, but no, everybody else is doing that except for a few people. And I just don't believe it. I think that they're very good at hiding things. All right, take care and have a wonderful day. Bye.